Welcome to a day in the Word. Today's reading is Esther chapter 1 through Esther chapter 2. Esther chapter 1. This is what happened during the time when Xerxes was king. Xerxes ruled over the 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. King Xerxes ruled from his throne in the capital city of Susa. In the third year of Xerxes' rule, he gave a party for his officers and leaders. The army leaders and important leaders from all of Persia and Media were there. The party continued for 180 days. All during this time, King Xerxes was showing the great wealth of his kingdom and the majestic beauty and wealth of his palace. And when the 180 days were over, King Xerxes gave another party that continued for 7 days. It was held in the inside garden of the palace. All the people who were in the capital city of Susa were invited, from the most important to the least important. The inside garden had white and blue linen hangings around the room. They were held in place with cords of white linen and purple material on silver rings and marble pillars. There were couches made of gold and silver. They were sitting on mosaic pavement made of porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and other expensive stones. Wine was served in golden cups, and every cup was different. There was plenty of the king's wine because the king was very generous. The king had given a command to his servants. He told them that each guest must be given as much wine as he wanted, and the wine server obeyed the king. Queen Vashti also gave a party for the women in the king's palace. On the 7th day of the party, King Xerxes was in high spirits from drinking wine. He gave a command to the 7 eunuchs who served him. The eunuchs were Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, Abagtha, Zathar, and Carcass. He commanded them to bring Queen Vashti to him wearing her royal crown. She was to come so that she could show her beauty to the leaders and important people. She was very beautiful. But when the eunuchs told Queen Vashti about the king's command, she refused to come. Then the king was very angry. It was the custom for the king to ask the advice of the experts about the law and punishments. So King Xerxes spoke with the wise men who understood the laws. They were very close to the king. Their names were Karshina, Shathar, Adamatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan. They were the 7 most important officials of Persia and Media. They had special privileges to see the king. They were the highest officials in the kingdom. The king asked them, "What does the law say must be done to Queen Vashti? She has not obeyed the command of King Xerxes that the eunuchs had taken to her." Then Memucan answered the king with the other officials listening. Queen Vashti has done wrong. She has done wrong against the king and also against all the leaders and people of all the provinces of King Xerxes. I say this because all the other women will hear about what Queen Vashti did. Then they will stop obeying their husbands. They will say to their husbands, King Xerxes commanded Queen Vashti to be brought to him, but she refused to come. Today, the wives of the Persian and Median leaders have heard what the queen did, and these women will be influenced by what she did. They will do the same thing to the king's important leaders, and there will be plenty of disrespect and anger. So, if it pleases the king, here is a suggestion. Let the king give a royal command and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media. The laws of Persia and Media cannot be changed. The royal command should be that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Let the king also give her royal position to someone else who is better than she is. Then the king's command is announced in all parts of his large kingdom. All the women will respect their husbands, from the most important to the least important. All the women will respect their husbands. The king and his important officials were happy with this advice. So King Xerxes did as Memucan suggested. King Xerxes sent letters to all parts of the kingdom. He sent them to each province, written in its own language. He sent them to each nation in its own language. These letters announced in each person's language that every man was to be the ruler over his own family. Esther chapter 2. Later, King Xerxes stopped being angry. Then he remembered Vashti and what she had done. He remembered his commands about her. Then the king's personal servants had a suggestion. They said, Search for beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king choose leaders in every province of his kingdom. Then let the leaders bring every beautiful young virgin to the capital city of Susa. These young women will be put with the group of the king's women. They will be under the care of Hegai, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the women. Then give beauty treatments to all of them. Then let the one who is pleasing to the king become the new queen in Vashti's place. The king liked this suggestion, so he accepted it. Now there was a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai. Mordecai was the son of Jair, and Jair was the son of Shimei, and Shimei was the son of Kish. Mordecai was in the capital city, Susa. Mordecai had been carried into captivity from Jerusalem by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. He was with the group that was taken into captivity with King Jehoiachin of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah. She didn't have a father or a mother, so Mordecai took care of her. Mordecai had adopted her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. Hadassah was also called Esther. She had a very pretty face and a good figure. When the king's command had been heard, many young women were brought to the capital city of Susa. They were put under the care of Hegai. Esther was one of these women. She was taken to the king's palace and put into Hegai's care. Hegai was in charge of the king's women. He liked Esther. She became his favorite. So he quickly gave Esther beauty treatments and special food. He chose 7 slave women from the king's palace and gave them to Esther. Then he moved Esther and her 7 women servants into the best place where the king's women lived. Esther didn't tell anyone she was a Jew. She didn't tell anyone about her family background because Mordecai had told her not to. Every day, Mordecai walked back and forth near the area where the king's women lived. He did this because he wanted to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Before a young woman could take her turn to go in before King Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. When her time came to go in to the king, she could choose to wear or take whatever she wanted from the women's living area. In the evening, the young woman would go to the king's palace, and in the morning she would return to another area where the king's women lived. Then she would be placed under the care of a man named Shazgaz. He was the king's eunuch in charge of the slave women. She would not go back to the king again unless he was pleased with her. Then he would call her by name to come back to him. The time came for Esther to go to the king. She was the one Mordecai had adopted, the daughter of his uncle Abihail. All she wanted to take with her was what Haggai, the king's officer in charge of the women, suggested. Everyone who saw Esther liked her. So Esther was taken to King Xerxes in the palace. This happened in the 10th month, the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his rule. The king loved Esther more than any of the other young women, and she became his favorite. He approved of her more than any of the others. So King Xerxes put a crown on Esther's head and made her the new queen in place of Vashti. And the king gave a big party for Esther. It was for all his important people and leaders. He announced the festival in all the provinces and sent out gifts to people because he was a generous king. Mordecai was sitting next to the king's gate at the time the young women were gathered together the second time. Esther had still kept it a secret that she was a Jew. She had not told anyone about her family background. This is what Mordecai had told her to do. She still obeyed Mordecai, just as she had done when he was taking care of her. During the time Mordecai was sitting next to the king's gate, this happened. Bigthana and Teresh, 2 of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, became angry with the king. They began to make plans to kill King Xerxes. But Mordecai learned about these plans and told Queen Esther. Then she told the king. She also told him that Mordecai was the one who had learned about the evil plan. Then the report was checked out. It was learned that Mordecai's report was true. The 2 guards who had planned to kill the king were hanged on a post. All these things were written down in a book of the king's histories in front of the king. Thank you for joining A Day in the Word Bible in a Year series. Please subscribe, like, comment, And don't forget to turn on that notification bell. Until next time, shalom.